Welcome back to Riding Bikes in San Diego. I thought it would be fun to just show a number of instances where people just feel like putting their car in the bike lane because I guess bike lanes are just places for people to store their cars. Although we're going to start off with this person who doesn't put their car in a bike lane, but they do put it in a red. And guess what, guys? It doesn't belong there either. See? Check this out.
That's not a parking space.
Hey, guess what? It doesn't matter if you're staying. As a matter of fact, since this video started 30 seconds ago, we passed at least 6 parking spaces where that car would have fit just fine. But what do we know? We're just people riding a bike, right? And before we get to any other spots, we're just going to take this little spot on Upus, and I want to tell you right now, it is a freaking miracle that there's nobody parked over here. But the red curb is new. So it's funny what a little paint can do. I'm sure there's still going to be people parked there, but we'll deal with that another time. Let's look at somebody else. Those who ride in North Park regularly know that you can always count on somebody stopping in the bike lane outside of the Chase Bank just north of University. Always, without fail. You can count on that. Never mind that they have a drive-through ATM on the back side of this place. Never mind that there's also a parking lot with like at least 12 spaces back there. Whatever. People just throw their cars there all the time. Never mind that there's a giant buffer here and red curb and flex posts. It doesn't matter. Like, you're in a car, I guess just put that thing wherever you want. Same with up here. This looks like somebody doing like a ride share thing, or they just got some kind of delivery, or they're going to get some food. For this one, I'm going to go up on the curb and then down here because they were nice enough to give me a little space on that curb cut. Give me a break, come on. And now the next one. Different day, different part of town, but same song and dance. Same bunch of nonsense. You have the classic driver outside the McDonald's at the SDSU bike lane. And check out the driver behind me who's just eking in there because they need a cheeseburger also. So, I mean, these bike lanes, it's just paint. I always say on this channel, paint is not protection. It's a fact, okay? Paint, the only thing that's going to stop is a driver who feels like not going into the paint. But, clearly those drivers are few and far between. Everybody, every day, no matter what part of town you're in, if you have a painted bike lane, you might as well have a de facto parking spot. You just throw on some hazard lights and everything's going to be fine, right? And now here's another one, but before we get to it, we're just going to enjoy being on a bicycle and passing a whole lot of drivers who are backed up in traffic. You might be asking yourself, why are they backed up in traffic? And that's an excellent question that we're going to get to. But riding a bike, really very few things feel better than passing a whole bunch of drivers who are moving much slower than you are. This is a great feeling. And this is why bike lanes are here. Bike lanes are here so that when drivers are all congested, there's still a safe place for people on bikes to be. This is not as safe as it should be. We should have some separation here. Plenty of people are just hanging out in this buffer. Like, my kid's in grade school and learns how to color in the lines, and maybe that's not part of the driving test, but, still a useful skill to have maybe. The reason why this is all backed up, of course, is because there was some sort of crash. Now, I don't know the severity of the crash. We pass it in just a minute, but it's really about where the crash is, because the longer I ride a bike on the roads of San Diego, the more I realize that when there is no protection, it's actually designed for people to put their cars in, and especially designed for police cars to be in. I'm transitioning over into this lane here because I go to the left, but all of these police cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, is there another one up here? Maybe a 5? Yep, 5 or 6 police cars here. They're just all blocking the bike lane. And hey, I understand an emergency happened, but to deal with the emergency of drivers, we take away resources from the people on bikes. We don't take away resources from the drivers. We don't just, cut the whole road. And I'm not saying we should. That would be inefficient. but we have a design here that specifically will always sacrifice the little space that's been given to people riding bicycles. And this will be the last one we look at. We're on Fairmount now, and this is, you know, an expressway. I mean, these drivers are going 50, 55, 60 miles an hour, and I have a nice big wide bike lane, and I have a nice big wide buffer, and it's super wide for a person on a bike or even a few people on bikes, but not when you put a pickup truck in it. And that's what we have going on here. And this is particularly dicey because, you know, these drivers behind me are moving very fast. So I'm looking, I'm signaling, and as I was signaling, the drivers are moving over, which is great. And these two fellas are just hanging out there. I don't know what problem they have. I don't know what's going on in that truck of theirs, but I mean, listen, I don't want to come down on all the drivers throughout this video. Some of them are just making poor choices. Some of them clearly don't have any control over what's going on. But the larger point, as always, is as much as the drivers are making poor choices here, what we have is designs that allow poor choices to be made. We have designs that actually make the worst choice for others the most convenient choice for a person driving a car. And I mean, at least I think that the bright side is that we can actually design our way out of these things. There are ways to do this so that people on bikes don't have to be disregarded every time somebody in a car has to stop for a cheeseburger or just run in for a minute or has some sort of real catastrophic problem and a crash that they need the space to move down. There have to be designs that consider all these things. Cars are unreliable. Also, they're big. They need places to go, but we have to design systems so that those places are not where we put some of the most vulnerable people who are using our roads. If you disagree with that, I don't know where to start the conversation. I do notice that often when I say things like we just need a little bit of safety, drivers go nuts as if I'm saying ban cars, and that's simply not the case. I just think that we could do better than this. But most of the people in this video are just stopping because they're too lazy to park someplace else and take a little bit of a walk, and that is a problem with our culture and our city and urban designs that really needs to be addressed. So luckily I'm going to ride here and not run into anybody else blocking the bike lane, and that's just for the rest of this day. And we're going to drive less and ride a bike. Thanks for coming along.